Hi, I'm Susie Garden, and this is the Ageless and Awesome podcast. I'm an age-defying naturopath and clinical nutritionist, and I'm here to bust myths around women's health and aging so that you can be ageless and awesome in your 40s, 50s, and beyond. The Ageless and Awesome podcast is dedicated to helping women through perimenopause and menopause with great health, a positive mindset, and outrageous confidence. Hit subscribe or follow now, and let's get started. Hello, gorgeous one, and welcome to our first Q&A for 2024. And this week's question was actually on a pre-screening call that I had this week with a lovely lady, Megan, who I'm going to be working with. So I'm super excited to do that. And she had a question about joint pain. And this is a funny thing. This comes up all the time when I'm working with people, when I'm speaking with women in the context of perimenopause. And it's not something that I've really focused a lot of my content on. So I thought I would talk about it briefly today because it really is a fairly simple kind of phenomenon. And if you're a woman who is in perimenopause, you may have noticed this joint pain, particularly in the hips. I know I've experienced it in my hips, and it can be in the knees, it can be pretty much any joint actually. And often it's worse in the mornings. And it kind of gets better as you walk around and move and kind of loosen up your joints. And many people will probably think, oh, this is like arthritis or something like that. But this is actually different to arthritis, this type of pain. And essentially, it's an estrogen-related thing. Estrogen actually is quite an anti-inflammatory hormone. And I've talked about that before, I think probably last year, in terms of its impact on the brain and how it's really anti-inflammatory in our brain. Well, we actually have estrogen receptors all over our body, and in the joints is another important place where we have them. And estrogen works as a pretty nice anti-inflammatory hormone in our muscles, and it also helps to lubricate our joints. So during this time of transition, this perimenopause and menopause time, when estrogen levels are dipping, then you can get these muscle and joint pains. It's usually, as I said, mostly common in the mornings. I've also experienced it like during the night and had to change my position in bed just to kind of alleviate that discomfort and pain in the hips. And, you know, there is a theory that probably estrogen has an important role in reducing the probability that you'll get arthritis, osteoarthritis that is, and also the severity of that osteoarthritis. So as much as we can kind of take the place of that estrogen in terms of reducing our exposure to inflammatory things in our world, will give us a really good benefit when it comes to reducing and relieving actually that pain. And that's been my experience when I started my personalized nutrition journey myself. And it's something that my clients say to me all the time within the first couple of weeks is, all my body pain has gone. And it's actually because of the anti-inflammatory nature of metabolic balance and the GLOW protocol. So I wanted to talk about some general principles around that. So essentially, reducing your exposure to inflammatory foods is incredibly powerful, and replacing that with foods that are anti-inflammatory. Like, it's pretty simple actually, and it's really easy to identify those foods. Like, if you're speaking more generally, things like really avoiding white sugar as much as you can. We all know it. Let's face it. This is not rocket science. So really avoiding white sugar, and really just white foods generally. And when I'm talking about white foods, I'm talking about these highly processed foods like white rice, white pasta, white flour, white bread, white sugar, as I mentioned, high fructose corn syrup. It's in generally in soft drinks and things, but it's in often a lot of other products. So If you are using food from a package, always have a look at the label before you buy it. If it has high fructose corn syrup in it, please put it back on the shelf. It is disgusting stuff. It's really bad for you. White crackers, anything really that has its basis in white flour or any of those other elements I just mentioned, have the potential to be inflammatory for people. And you can replace it with things like, quinoa. Oh gosh, I've been using quinoa instead of rice for a really, really long time. Rye bread rye is actually an anti-inflammatory grain. It's not a gluten-free grain. So if you are gluten sensitive or intolerant, then rye bread is not the right choice for you. But if you are choosing a gluten-free bread, you want one. A lot of those gluten-free breads can be really highly processed. So you want to get one that actually has some good nutrition in it. But yeah, rye bread is awesome for reducing inflammation. If you're choosing rice, then brown rice is not bad. Wild rice is even better because it's really rich in anti-inflammatory compounds. Choosing things like lentil pasta, if you tolerate lentils, is a great option instead of wheat-based pasta. But any of those sort of whole grain pastas are generally going to be way better choice than your white pasta. But really, lentil pasta, I just absolutely love. It's a very good. I've had a lot of substitute or alternative pastas over the past few years, and most of them are terrible and they're nothing like pasta. But the lentil pasta is actually a really good substitute. So I put heaps of people onto that and they love it. So they're really good replacements. Other things to avoid are things like char-grilled meats. They are really pro-inflammatory. Red meat generally can be. You just need to be, conscious of how much of that you're having. The Australian Dietary Guidelines say no more than 3 serves of red meat per week, which when you consider the average Australian and probably American, they're having way more than that. So if you can limit it to no more than 3 serves per week, that's ideal, and not char grilling it. That's really going to reduce your exposure to inflammatory products. Choosing foods that are high in antioxidants to combat inflammation. So foods like fruits and veggies that are dark colors or really vibrant colors. So we're talking things like berries. We're talking like pumpkin, carrot, beetroot, things like that have got that really vibrant kind of color. Apples, even though they don't have that vibrant color, they are also packed with antioxidants. They're really good for you. So definitely, an apple a day is an awesome option to help with reducing inflammation and therefore your joint pain. And just generally staying away from packaged foods. If your food is coming in a box, then it's probably going to have some inflammatory kind of components to it. Having loads of fresh veggies, salads, fruits, good quality proteins, lots of plant-based proteins are great. And if you really want to go next level, personalized nutrition is the bomb, because that's using blood testing to make sure that the foods that you're eating are going to be compatible and work with your body's biochemistry to lower inflammation, balance hormones, to balance out your blood glucose and glucose. Sorry, did I just say blood glucose and glucose? Blood glucose and insulin, so that you are really feeling good. You've got good, consistent energy, no energy slumps, and that body pain disappears, which is what we all want. And I've even had that happening in women that I've worked with that have things like lupus, that have rheumatoid arthritis, things like that, pretty significant inflammatory disease. We can do so much with food. So, when I was doing some reading around this before I came onto the podcast to record, I was so disappointed to see on so many relatively reputable websites that they're kind of really recommending going for the anti-inflammatories. And sure, if you need that, do it. But if you haven't yet addressed what's going on in terms of what you're putting in your body, then that is key. You can band-aid it with non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, but they're not great for your gut bacteria, and there's not something that is safe to take long-term. Any medical professional will tell you that. And so, you've really got to look at what are you actually putting in your body that might be inflaming you, and what are you putting in your body that will reduce inflammation. That's really important, particularly when you're getting in your 40s and 50s and beyond. So going that next level, personalized nutrition with the GLOW protocol, metabolic balance, is brilliant for relieving a lot of these symptoms of menopause and perimenopause, and particularly in the context of joint pain. So I hope that's been helpful. I am looking for questions for my upcoming episodes, so please feel free to message me so that I can include your question and help you out with what you might be experiencing. I would love that. If you want to chat with me about perhaps working together, you can book a pre-screening call. It's free. It's no obligation. I never ask people to sign up on the call because I don't want to put people in a vulnerable position. And I don't want to work with people that feel pressured to work with me. So please come and have a chat. I always learn so much from talking to people about what people need. And it's a lot of fun for me. So just go onto my website, susiegarden.com /the-glow-protocol, and you can book your pre-screening call there, or look at the show notes. I'll pop a link there. Have a great rest of the week and an awesome weekend, and I will see you again next Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining me today on the Ageless and Awesome podcast. If you liked today's episode, please make sure you click the little plus button if you're on Apple Podcasts, or the follow button if you're on Spotify, so that you can get each new episode delivered to you every single week. If you like free stuff, and who doesn't, then head over to susiegarden.com and grab my 8 essential age-defying secrets every woman over 40 should know right now. Or if you'd like to continue the discussion, head over to Instagram and DM me at Susie Garden Wellness. I'd love to connect with you.